I stood behind the counter of my small vintage bookstore, arranging a display of first editions when the bell above the door chimed. My heart sank. I'd recognize those expensive leather shoes anywhere. My brother Michael strutted in like he owned the place, which technically he did. At least that's what he thought. "Still playing shopkeeper, Sarah?" His voice dripped with condescension as he glanced around my carefully curated store, wrinkling his nose at the smell of old books and coffee. "You know, when you said you were quitting your corporate job to follow your dreams, I expected something more impressive." I took a deep breath, steadying myself. 5 years ago, I'd walked away from a 6-figure salary at our family's real estate development firm. My father had been furious, my mother disappointed, and Michael, well, he never missed a chance to remind me what a failure I was. "What do you want, Michael?" I asked, though I already knew. He only visited for one reason. He pulled an envelope from his designer suit jacket, tossing it onto my antique counter. "Rent's going up again. Market rates, you understand." His smirk said he understood perfectly. He was trying to drive me out. I opened the envelope, my jaw clenching at the number. "This is double what I'm paying now." "Your little shop is pathetic," he said, examining his manicured nails. "This space could be generating real income. Maybe it's time to accept that not everyone is cut out for business." For 5 years I'd endured this. The constant rent hikes, the random inspections, the not-so-subtle suggestions that I should just give up. What Michael didn't know was that while he was busy playing the ruthless landlord, I'd been building something of my own. My little shop was just the beginning. I'd started small, buying rare books online and reselling them for profit. Then I expanded into estate sales, building connections with collectors worldwide. 5 years of careful investment and strategic planning had grown into something much bigger than this cozy storefront. I walked to my office, retrieving my briefcase. Michael was still talking, something about how Dad had been right about me all along. I set the briefcase on the counter and clicked it open. "Actually," I said calmly, pulling out a thick folder, "I think we need to discuss your tenancy here." He laughed, that same dismissive laugh I'd heard at every family dinner. "My tenancy? I own this building, Sarah. Or did all these dusty books make you forget?" I spread the documents across the counter. Property deeds, transfer of ownership papers, all signed and notarized. "No, Michael. You used to own this building, along with the entire complex. But as of 9 a.m. this morning, it all belongs to Vintage Ventures LLC." I paused, savoring the moment. "Pie Company." His keys dropped to the floor with a clatter that echoed through the suddenly silent shop. That's impossible. The sale was private through a broker. The buyer was some investment group." "Yes," I smiled. "My investment group. You really should read the fine print more carefully, brother dear." Michael's face went through a range of emotions: shock, disbelief, anger, fear. He snatched up the papers, scanning them frantically. "This is a joke. A trick." "No trick. While you were busy mocking my little shop, I was building an empire of my own. One rare book at a time." I gathered the papers back into my briefcase. "Now about your office upstairs, I'll need that vacated by the end of the month. Market rates, you understand." His face had gone pale, his usual arrogance replaced by something I'd never seen before: respect tinged with fear. "Sarah, we can talk about this. We just did." I turned back to my display of first editions. "You can leave your keys on the counter on your way out. And Michael," I called as he stumbled toward the door, "do be careful with the door. It's an antique, and unlike you, I actually own it." The bell chimed again as he left, and I allowed myself a small smile. This was just the beginning. Phase 1 of my plan was complete, but I had bigger moves in mind. After all, this building wasn't the only property I'd been quietly acquiring. My phone buzzed, a text from my real estate broker. "Offer accepted on the Madison Avenue property." I smiled wider. The Madison Avenue property, where our family's company headquarters stood. Michael had no idea what was coming next. The news spread through our family like wildfire. Within hours of Michael's humiliating exit from my bookstore, my phone was flooded with messages. Mom's carefully worded texts expressing concern about my rash decisions. Dad's voicemails growing progressively angrier, demanding I explain myself. Even my younger sister Emma, who usually stayed out of family drama, called to warn me that I'd started a war. But I was ready for war. I'd been preparing for 5 years. The following Monday I walked into my little shop to find my father waiting. Alexander Bennett, real estate tycoon and family patriarch, looked out of place among my vintage books and antique furniture. His custom suit and commanding presence seemed to fill the small space. "Quite a show you put on with your brother," he said, not bothering with a greeting. "I taught you better than petty revenge." I set my coffee down and met his gaze steadily. "You taught me that business is business. Isn't that what you always said?" "This isn't business," he snapped. "This is you trying to prove a point." "No, Dad. This is me succeeding despite you, not because of you." I moved behind the counter, maintaining the physical barrier between us. "Remember what you said when I opened this store. You'll come crawling back within 6 months." His jaw tightened. "I was trying to protect you from yourself." "You were trying to control me," I corrected. "Just like you're trying to control this situation now. But here's the thing, Dad, you can't." I pulled out my laptop and turned it to face him. On the screen was a real-time stock ticker showing Bennett Development's share prices. They'd been declining steadily since word got out about my acquisition of the complex. "Your company's stock has dropped 15% in 3 days," I said. "Investors are nervous. They're wondering what else you might have overlooked, what other assets you might lose control of." "Is that a threat?" His voice was dangerously quiet. "It's a fact. Just like it's a fact that I now own the building your company operates from." I watched his face pale slightly. "Oh, you didn't know about that yet? The paperwork just finalized this morning." He gripped the edge of my counter, his knuckles turning white. "What do you want, Sarah?" "I want what you never gave me: respect. Recognition. A seat at the table." I closed my laptop. "For years, you and Michael treated me like I was nothing. A failure. The daughter who couldn't hack it in the family business. So this is about revenge." "No, Dad. This is about business." I smiled, echoing his words from countless meetings. "Nothing personal, just business. Isn't that what you always taught us?" He straightened his tie, composing himself. "Name your price." "For what?" "For all of it. The complex, the headquarters building. Whatever game you're playing, let's end it." I laughed, the sound echoing off the shelves of books. "I'm not selling. In fact." I pulled up another document on my laptop. "I'm buying. Your shareholders are nervous, Dad. Your stock is vulnerable. And Vintage Ventures LLC has been very, very busy." His eyes widened as he read the screen. "Over the past year, through various shell companies and careful maneuvering, I'd acquired nearly 30% of Bennett Development's shares." "That's impossible," he whispered. "We would have noticed." "Like you noticed me buying your building?" "Face it, Dad. You were so busy looking down on me, you never bothered to look up and see what I was building." The bell above the door chimed and Michael walked in, his face ashen. "Dad, we have a problem. The board, they're calling an emergency meeting." I gathered my things, picking up my briefcase. "That would be about the vote of no confidence. They're not happy about losing control of key properties." I headed toward the door, pausing beside them. "You should hurry. Wouldn't want to be late for your last board meeting." As I walked out, I heard my father's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it before. "Sarah, wait." But I didn't wait. I'd done enough waiting. 5 years of careful planning, of being underestimated, of building my empire book by book, share by share. Now it was their turn to wait and see what I would do next. My phone buzzed with a message from my broker. "Board meeting in 1 hour. Everything's ready." I smiled, sliding into my car. Phase 2 was about to begin, and this time I wouldn't be sitting quietly in the background. This time I'd be running the show. The Bennett Development boardroom hadn't changed since I'd last seen it 5 years ago. The same mahogany table, the same leather chairs, the same floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. But this time when I walked in, I wasn't the quiet daughter sitting in the corner taking notes. Board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats as I took my place at the head of the table. My father and Michael sat together on the far end, both looking like they'd aged years in the past week. The company's lawyers huddled nearby, frantically whispering among themselves. "Let's begin," I said, opening my laptop. "As majority shareholder of Bennett Development, I'm calling this meeting to order." "This is ridiculous," Michael burst out. "You can't just walk in here and dash." "Actually, I can." I nodded to my legal team, who began distributing documents. As of this morning, Vintage Ventures LLC owns 51% of Bennett Development's shares. The additional 21% was purchased from various shareholders who seemed eager to sell after recent events. My father's face had gone completely white. The family trust, those shares were protected. Were they? I pulled up an email on the screen behind me. Interesting email here from 5 years ago. You telling me I'd never understand business, that I was an embarrassment to the Bennett name. You then removed me from the family trust. I paused, letting it sink in. Which made those shares vulnerable to outside acquisition. The board members were reading through the documents, their expressions ranging from shock to grudging admiration. I'd played this perfectly, legally, and completely within the rules my father had taught me. Your first action was to purchase my building, Michael said slowly, realization dawning. You knew it would shake investor confidence. Causing the stock to drop, I continued for him. Making your shareholders nervous enough to sell. Basic market manipulation, something else Dad taught me, remember? The vote of no confidence, one board member spoke up. That was you too? I nodded. Suggested to a few key members. Amazing how quickly people lose faith when they realize they've been outmaneuvered. What do you want? My father finally asked, his voice heavy with defeat. What I've always wanted, control of my own destiny. I stood up, walking around the table. 4 years, you two treated this company like your personal playground. You ignored innovation, dismissed new ideas, and ran purely on ego. That ends today. I pressed a button, and the screen changed to show my 5-year plan for the company. Bennett Development is going green. Sustainable building materials, eco-friendly designs, community-focused development. Everything you fought against because it wasn't profitable enough. You'll destroy everything we built, Michael protested. No, I corrected him. I'll build it into something better. Something that matters. I turned to the board members. Those of you who want to be part of this new direction are welcome to stay. Those who don't, well, your severance packages are in the folders in front of you. One by one, the board members nodded. They were business people after all. They could see which way the wind was blowing. As for you too, I said, facing my father and brother, you have a choice. You can either adapt and work under my leadership, or you can leave with your severance. Either way, the days of you undermining me are over. My father stood up slowly, straightening his tie one last time. You played us perfectly, he said, and for the first time in my life, I heard something like pride in his voice. You're better at this than either of us ever was. I know, I replied simply. I always was. You just never bothered to notice. He nodded once, then turned and walked out. Michael followed, pausing at the door. That little bookstore, it was never about the books, was it? I smiled. The books were real. Every empire needs a good cover story. And Michael, I added as he turned to leave, the rent on your office is tripled. Market rates, you understand. As the door closed behind them, I sat down in what had once been my father's chair. On my laptop, I pulled up the security feed from my bookstore. The morning sun was streaming through the windows, highlighting the carefully arranged shelves, the comfortable reading nooks, the coffee bar where I'd spent countless hours planning this takeover.